Once upon a time, in the small village of Ikat in Nigeria, there lived a young woman named Imabong who was known for two things: her enormous body size and her terrible body odor. One morning while digging yam roots, she noticed a young hunter named Akpan regarding her curiously. He was tall and lean with serious eyes that now studied her intently through the trees. Soon they built an easy rapport. Imabong was desolate when he informed her of his imminent departure. In their brief time together, she had come to cherish his gentle company. "I will be so very lonely when you go, Akpan. I have enjoyed our short friendship immensely. I would ask your father for your hand so I may stay always by your side." The next morning, Imabong awoke with a happiness in her heart she hadn't felt in years. She hummed as she prepared a simple breakfast of roasted plantains and tomato stew while awaiting Akpan's arrival. Soon, Akpan arrived as promised. Imabong greeted him with a radiant smile. His keen hunter's eyes winkled affectionately at the sight of her happiness. "Good morning, my lovely friend," he said warmly. "Shall we visit your father and make our intentions known?" Imabong's smile faltered slightly as fear gripped her heart. What if her father rejected Akpan's offer? But one look into Akpan's steady gaze bolstered her courage. She gave a determined nod. "Yes, let us go to him now before I lose my nerve." So they set off together, Imabong walking as swiftly as her fat body would allow, with Akpan keeping an easy step by her side. The village streets were already bustling with life, women sweeping dirt yards, children playing noisily, goats and chickens roaming freely. Imabong kept her gaze down and used to being out and about among so much activity. Some villagers paused to stare openly at the unlikely pair. Akpan seemed not to notice their surprised looks, but Imabong could feel the judgment and confusion in their eyes. She clutched her shawl more tightly around her ample body, willing herself not to turn and flee. At last they arrived at a small, well-kept hut near the outskirts. This had been Imabong's childhood home, where she had lived happily with her parents. Now her elderly father resided here alone, tended by a few distant relatives. Imabong paused by the doorway, stomach roiling with nerves. She glanced at Akpan pleadingly. He gave her an encouraging nod and raised his hand to knock firmly on the wooden door. An old man with gray hair soon appeared, his brow furrowed in confusion at the sight of visitors. "Father," she said in a tremulous voice, "this is my friend Akpan. He has asked for my hand in marriage." Her father was surprised. Though he had resigned himself to his daughter remaining unmarried, he could see the genuine affection in Akpan's eyes. With a grateful heart, he gave his blessing. Preparations for the wedding began in earnest. Imabong's relatives helped her sew a beautiful gown from the finest fabrics they could afford, adorning it with intricate beadwork and embroidery. Word of the impending marriage spread through the village like wildfire, and the people buzzed with gossip and speculation about the unexpected match. On the morning of the ceremony, Imabong emerged from her hut to a chorus of gossips and murmurs. She had transformed herself, her hair neatly coiled and adorned with cowrie shells. The beaded necklaces she wore accentuated her ample bust, and her flowing gown clung to her womanly curves. For once, the villagers were not gawking in mockery but in stunned appreciation of her beauty. Imabong waddled slowly down the well-trodden path that led to the village clearing where the ceremony would take place. Akpan stood tall and proud, resplendent in his Igbo native wares, his eyes shining with love as he took Imabong's hand. The village elders presided over the ceremony, their faces a mixture of bemusement and grudging respect for the unlikely couple. Akpan recited his vows with a steady voice, promising to love, honor, and protect his bride. Imabong could scarcely believe the words she was hearing, grateful tears streaming down her radiant face. As man and wife, Akpan and Imabong settled into a happy life together. Imabong tended to their humble hut, sweeping the dirt floor and cooking delicious meals of smoked fish stew and pounded yam for her husband. Akpan continued his hunting expeditions, rising before dawn to walk deep into the forest in search of bushmeat to feed his new family and provide for the village. In the evenings, Akpan would return with his kills. He and Imabong would sit together outside their hut, watching as the vibrant colors of the sunset faded into the inky blackness of night. They would talk and laugh, sharing stories of their day and marveling at the beauty of the nature that surrounded them. As the months passed, Imabong's confidence grew. She began to hold her head high as she walked through the village, no longer cowering from the stares and whispers of others. The villagers, in turn, started to regard her with a newfound respect. Some even came to her for advice, for her kind heart and steady wisdom were becoming widely known. One day, as Imabong was fetching water from the village well, a group of children approached her, the same ones who had once mocked her mercilessly. But this time, they did not taunt or jeer. Instead, they looked at her with wide, innocent eyes. Imabong, one of the young girls, said shyly, "You are so big, strong, and hardworking. Will you teach us how to carry heavy loads like you do?" Imabong's heart swelled with joy at the request. She smiled warmly and beckoned the children closer, showing them how to balance pots and bundles on their heads, just as she had been taught as a young girl. The children watched in rapt attention, mimicking her movements and laughing as they struggled to maintain their balance. From that day on, Imabong became a beloved figure to the village children, who would flock to her to learn the skills and wisdom she had to offer. But even as their lives blossomed with newfound happiness and respect, a dark cloud loomed on the horizon. The village king, an elderly man who had ruled Ikit for decades, fell gravely ill. He had always been fond of Akpan, whose hunting skills ensured a steady supply of the finest bushmeat for the royal table. The king had also come to respect Akpan's noble character and humble demeanor. As the king lay on his deathbed, his breathing labored and his skin ashen, he summoned Akpan and Imabong to his side. They hurried to the royal hut, their hearts heavy with dread at the prospect of losing their benevolent ruler. "Akpan," the king rasped, his voice barely above a whisper, "you have proven yourself to be a man of great integrity and courage. I have no son to inherit my throne, and I trust no one more than you to lead our people." He turned his gaze to Imabong, his eyes filled with remorse. "And you, my dear, have endured much mockery and scorn due to your size and condition. Forgive me for not seeing your true worth sooner." Imabong wept openly, humbled by the king's words. Akpan, too, was overwhelmed, his stoic demeanor cracking as he realized the weight of the responsibility the king is about to place upon his shoulders. With his last breaths, the king named Akpan as his successor and proclaimed Imabong as the new queen of Ikit. The couple clung to each other in shock and disbelief as the king's spirit departed, leaving them to lead the village in his stead. Word of the king's decision spread rapidly, and the villagers reacted with a mix of confusion and outrage. How could this lowly hunter and his bad odor wife be chosen to rule over us? Dissent brewed, with some questioning the dying king's mental faculties and others grumbling that they would never bow to such an unlikely pair. Akpan and Imabong were devastated by the backlash. They had never desired power or prestige, content to live their simple life together in peace. But the king's decree was absolute, and they knew they had no choice but to assume the mantle of leadership. On the day of the royal funeral, the villagers gathered with sullen faces, muttering under their breaths as Akpan and Imabong took their places on the carved wooden thrones that had once seated the former king and queen. Imabong's heart pounded in her chest, and she fought to maintain her composure as the hostile glares of the people bore into her. As the funeral rites concluded, Akpan stood and addressed the gathered crowd, his voice trembling slightly. "My people," he began, "I know that many of you question the king's decision to name us as your new rulers. We are but humble villagers unaccustomed to power or privilege. But I swear to you that we will lead with wisdom, compassion, and justice, always putting the needs of Ikit before our own." He gestured to Imabong, who sat beside him, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. "My wife has endured much cruelty and scorn in her life, and yet her spirit remains gentle and kind. She will be a queen who understands the plight of the downtrodden and will fight tirelessly to uplift those who have been marginalized." Imabong's eyes met those of her husband, and she saw in them a fierce determination and unwavering love. She took courage from his words and rose to her feet, smoothing the folds of her regal gown. People of Ekit, she said, her voice resonant and clear, I know that many of you have doubted me, mocked me for my body size and odor. But I promise you that I will be a queen who sees the beauty in all her subjects, regardless of their outward form. I will be a voice for the voiceless, a champion for those who have been scorned and belittled as I once was. A hush fell over the crowd as Imobong spoke, her impassioned words striking a chord in their hearts. Some began to nod, their expressions softening as they recognized the strength and grace that lay beneath her ample exterior. In the years that followed, Akpan and Imobong worked tirelessly to prove themselves as worthy leaders. Akpan's fairness and even-handedness in resolving disputes earned him the respect of the people, while Imobong's kindness and warmth endeared her to the village women and children. Imobong made it her mission to uplift the marginalized and downtrodden. She established a school for girls, ensuring that they received free education and were not forced into early marriages or servitude. She also founded a center for the elderly and infirm, providing them with food, shelter, and medical care. Slowly but surely, the people's skepticism and hostility toward their new rulers melted away. Imobong's size, once a source of mockery, became a symbol of her inner strength and nurturing spirit. The villagers came to see her as a motherly figure, a queen who embodied the virtues of compassion, generosity, and unconditional love. As for Akpan, his reputation as a skilled hunter gave way to his renown as a just and wise king. He led the village through times of prosperity and hardship with a steady hand, always seeking counsel from the elders and making decisions for the greater good of Ekit. Together, Akpan and Imobong formed an unbreakable bond, their love for each other and their people only strengthening with each passing year. They had children of their own, and their family grew to become a beacon of hope and inspiration for the entire village. Years turned to decades, and the once mocked Imobong found herself transformed from a lonely, forgotten woman into the beloved Queen of Ekit. Her size and stature were no longer a source of shame but a symbol of her inner beauty, grace, and nurturing spirit. Her story became a testament to the power of love, perseverance, and the belief that true worth lies not in outward appearances but in the strength of one's character and the purity of one's heart. Even after Akpan's passing, when Imobong was an elderly woman with snow-white hair and a face etched with the lines of a lifetime of laughter and sorrow, she remained a revered figure in Ekit. The children would gather around her feet as she sat beneath the shade of a towering iroko tree, begging her to recount the tale of how she and Akpan had overcome adversity and mockery to become the beloved leaders of their people. And Imobong, her eyes shining with the memories of a life well lived, would oblige them, her melodious voice weaving a tapestry of love, resilience, and the triumph of the human spirit over cruelty and prejudice. Her story would live on, passed down through generations, a shining example of the beauty that can blossom when one has the courage to see beyond the superficial and embrace the inherent worth in every soul. In Ekit, the name Imobong became synonymous with grace, wisdom, and the transformative power of love to heal even the deepest wounds. And though she and Akpan eventually departed this world, their legacy endured, a beacon of hope for all those who dared to dream of a better life, no matter how unlikely or improbable their circumstances might seem. Drop a heart emoji in the comments section if you will enjoy this story. Also support our channel by subscribing and liking this video. Turn on post notification to get updates when we post a new video. Thanks for watching.